So namaste to everyone, and very good afternoon and good evening for some of you, and really a honor and pleasure for me to be present in this webinar and present on behalf of my country as well as my organization, International Justice Mission. So uh, I'll just share my screen, take an opportunity to share the screen with you. Hope you can see the screen. Um, I want to
Yes,
thank
yes,
the organizers, Institute of Social Responsibility and Accountability, ISRA, for giving this opportunity and organizing this webinar on this very significant topic. So I'll confine, I will share about my organization, my work and experiences, as well as the paradigm shift of NGOs, especially as I see in India. So thanks once again. So let me begin with a story of a girl, could be part of this crowd as you see. Her name, let us take as Neha. So Neha is a 15-year-old girl from a remote village in India. On her way to school, she was kidnapped, raped, and sold in a red light area in Kolkata to be sexually exploited day and night. Now, IGEM was fortunate in assisting the police and rescuing her, and currently she is in the process of rehabilitation. And my dear friends, there are several Nehas today in her village as well as in India who face everyday violence. Years and years of social developmental work has given the area a school, a hospital, and a clean water well. But on the way to avail the benefits, the poor people are subjected to violence. Now, if I ask you what is the solution to that, is it to bring the school closer so that Neha can go to the school without being subjected to violence, or to build up a strong criminal justice system which will stop the violator? Friends, violence is infectious. It spreads and destroys. We at IGEM describe this as the locust effect. Just like the hordes of locusts invaded India recently, you will all remember and recollect. Violence also destroys everything in the path. One thing we do not realize that these are those most affected by the violence of the poor, because of the poor live outside the protection of law. As you know, the poor people are subjected to violence. You have seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, the most affected people during the pandemic was the poor and the vulnerable people. We at IGEM believe that the end of poverty requires end of violence, and end of violence requires end of impunity. And ending impunity can only be achieved through an active criminal justice system that enforces the law. So what is the solution? How we can protect people like Neha? Our solution to protect people from violence is to partner with local authorities to rescue victims by assisting the law enforcement in the rescue operations, restore survivors through aftercare services and partnering with different aftercare homes, bring criminals to justice. We believe that criminals are held accountable for their crimes. We are given a strong message to others who are committing such offenses. And lastly, strengthening the justice system or the criminal justice system. We work with local government authorities to help build a system that will protect the poor from violence. Now, coming to International Justice Mission, as Sujit mentioned in his introduction, it's a global organization that helps protect the most vulnerable from violence and oppression, irrespective of their gender, community, caste, religion, race, and ethnicity. IGEM's focus is forced labor, sex trafficking, sexual violence, police abuse of power, property grabbing, by building capacity of the government, local governments around the world. IGEM has been operating over 20 years now. Now, coming to the work of India, we work actually pan-India, about 12 states in India, along with our partners, and we have offices in 7 states. So iGEM's focus in India is twofold. One is combating labor trafficking, and other is sex trafficking. Now, from our experience, or from my experience, I'm just going to share about human trafficking and COVID, how human trafficking or COVID affected human trafficking. There has been economic stress on families due to the lockdown, making people very, very vulnerable to human trafficking. Loss of employment caused demand for cheap labor and forced labor, as well as commercial sexual exploitation. There has been rise in online commercial sexual exploitation and child marriages, which we hear. We have seen increase in online activities in India, high chances of cyber trafficking. There has been increase in violence against women and children as they stay in their houses. There also been a shift in priority. If we take law enforcement, because there's more focus now on the combating COVID-19 and less on human trafficking. Now, when the lockdown was declared in India around mid-March, along with the entire nation, we at iGEM also started working from our home. But we didn't wait for the situation to come back to normal or to start our interventions. With our limited capacity, as you know, we are not an organization who gives relief, but still we reached out and responded to the needs of the nation and the cries of the most vulnerable people. We distributed relief among the migrant laborers, sex workers, people who live in villages, slum dwellers, community, and released bonded laborers, etc., etc. And iGEM, with help of its partners, we have partners around India, so they helped and distributed dry ration among mill workers, tea garden workers, slum dwellers, paralegal volunteers. We also distributed masks and sanitizers among police officials, among aftercare homes, prosecutors, advocates, as well as court staff. Now, what has been coming to COVID? What has been our response as iGEM? So we directly reached out and given relief to 57,000 families, pan-India. We were able to do, as well as we reached out. We reached out to people, made them aware, because awareness is something which is very, very essential. Awareness building on human trafficking as well as on COVID, about 68,000 families, as well as we reached out to partners, 250 partners, being it government as well as civil society. To name a few, we partnered with Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the MHA, the Indian National Institute of Disaster Management, state and district legal services authorities, released bonded labor associations, bar association of different local and national, as well as international NGOs. And iGEM also hosted several webinars, as we are partnering today, and in association with different national, state government agencies, judiciary, law enforcement, educational institutions, media houses, as well as different NGOs. If we talk about intervention, very shockingly, let me shock you that human trafficking has stopped during COVID. My dear friends, that is a myth. Even during the current COVID situation or pandemic, trafficking for sex as well as labor has not stopped. In fact, it's shocking to say that it has gone up. So we have rescued, in this pandemic situation till March, till date, we have rescued 7,000 people. When I say 7,000, these are individuals with name, with faces. These are not just numbers for us. 7,000 people rescued with the help of local authorities, police, from sex trafficking as well as bonded laborers. As you all know, the migrant labor crisis has brought us to at least 130 million poor migrant laborers who made our lives possible have suffered, and they have been ignored somehow. So we reached out, and then with our help, about 3,500 migrant laborers went back to their homes, and they returned back to their homes. So coming to today's topic about paradigm shift during the COVID, as I see from my little experience from IGEM's perspective, I see the NGOs in India has become more agile. I'll give you 4 A's in this. Had become more agile. When I say agile, it became more, agility has improved. When NGOs realized that the pace with which they were working in normal times is not sufficient to catch up with the pace of the disaster. Normally, it takes about 10 to 15 days to respond. Now, we need to be more agile, more faster. So the response became in 2 days. Although due to lockdown, there have been several instances where our social workers were not able to reach remote places. But still we say that NGOs became more agile due to this. The second A is alliances. NGOs also realized that none of them alone has sufficient resources to deal with this situation. The situation taught us to be more interdependent and forced intense collaborations and partnerships to help each other. The third A is activeness. We became more active. Unfortunately, the civil society responded first, and then NGOs came into the scene in the scenario. Government also reached out to different NGOs to take the help and services to the last man, so that this reaches the last man. MHA, as I mentioned, Ministry of Home Affairs, they have issued a notification in July, mid-July, to combat human trafficking. So that's one. And lastly, I will say the next A is action. NGOs realize the need of rapid action forces within themselves. Like niche teams were prepared of 1 or 2 people. It was not necessarily to have many tens and 20 people to go in and rescue operation. Only 2-3 people managed to rescue about 600-700 people. We used volunteers. We mobilized volunteers. Social media also emerged as a very effective tool in rescues. We have seen many rescues have been done through social media. And lastly, this will be my last slide of the opportunities. Yes, it also gives, there are a lot of challenges, but COVID-19 gives us a lot of opportunities, especially post-COVID. What I see, maybe the NGOs missed the bus during the initial days, but we started picking up as we have witnessed migrant laborers and families walking miles on foot to return back to their homes. Soon after, NGOs responded and helped them to return back and provided relief. Once the lockdown is completely lifted, and I believe the railway services are fully operational, and this current monsoon ends in India around September, October, there will be lakhs and lakhs of return migrant laborers who will go back to their own places of work. So ensuring health and hygiene, as well as minimum wages for them, good working conditions, as well as safe migration or re-migration will be a huge opportunity for NGOs, I believe, which is in front of us to work in this sector. And secondly, it is collaboration. We have seen, collaboration, but government is looking to collaborate with NGOs. Now, government is looking to prepare a database of these, migrant laborers and all the people who have returned to their, own states. As different states has no clue, as you have seen, on the number of migrant workers when they started returning home. This is the time, my dear friends, NGOs can help the government in preparing database of the guest workers. Also, there is huge scope of collaboration between NGOs. As today we are collaborating with different NGOs and as well as international NGOs, a huge scope of collaboration in that. And lastly, NGOs will be looked as expert consultants. With our experience, rich experience in this sector, NGOs can be expert consultants. Corporates are going to reach out to us with their products because they have seen they need to clear the supply chain to ensure the products are not coming out of the bonded laborers. So they will reach out to us to clear the supply chain. And post-COVID, NGOs will take up a regulatory function, as I see, rather than a reactive function. So thank you so much for patiently listening to me. I once again thank the organizers, ISRA, the Institute of Social Responsibility and Accountability, for organizing this webinar. I'm sure together we are going to overcome this situation, and soon we at International Justice Mission are determined to continue this fight until all are free. Thank you.